Have you ever noticed that right when things finally start going right, like actually right, friend, you almost can't stand it or you feel weird, like the shoe is going to drop, like the rug is going to be pulled from down under you? You have been asking for this, for your life to feel more stable, for your relationships to be more loving and more, I don't know, connected, for things to finally open up for you. And then everything happens. But the moment it shows up, you don't feel as solid as you thought you would. You get this itchy feeling under your skin. You start overthinking things that were fine. You pick a fight with your partner or people at work, or you find yourself checking your email at 11 p.m., almost like you're trying to create this crisis so you have something to manage. This is the most frustrating thing in the world because your head is saying, "This is it, I'm here. I created what I wanted, I manifested what I wanted," but your body is reacting like you're in actual danger. So, why does it feel like the moment your life starts expanding, you cannot fully stay there? That's what we're getting into in today's episode. I'm going to introduce you to the G and the N of my Align framework: growth and grounding, and next level embodiment. Because the truth is, your life and your embodiment can only grow to the level your nervous system feels safe sustaining. And if you're listening to this and you're going, "Oh my God, Michelle, this is exactly what is happening at this moment in my life," like, this is the moment where things start to go well and then something in me pulls back. No worries. You're not alone. We all do this as we expand and as we grow. This is what we're going to be working through together tomorrow in the Step into Alignment workshop. Have you signed in yet? Sign in, because understanding it like this, hearing it, even recognizing yourself in it, that's one level. But actually being in that moment when your life is expanding and your body doesn't feel safe staying there and knowing how to stay with yourself through it, that's a completely different experience. That's what we're going to slow down and walk through together. We're going to look at what's actually happening in your nervous system, what grounding really looks like when things are going super amazing, and how you start building the capacity to hold more without defaulting back to what's familiar. So, if this episode feels a little too accurate, this is your next step. And I am going to leave that link to sign up in the show notes for you so you can join me tomorrow, Wednesday, April 22nd at noon Eastern Standard Time. Okay, friend, let's get started with this juicy topic. Welcome to Rewired to Align, a space where we break the patterns keeping you stuck and bring your brain, nervous system, and energy back into coherence. I'm Michelle Murray, neurospiritual alignment coach and creator of Align. This is where neuroscience meets spirituality and where you stop overthinking and start understanding what's actually driving your reality. If you're ready to see yourself clearly and finally shift what's been looping, you're in the right place. Hello, friend. Welcome to Rewired to Align. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Michelle Murray, and every week we come here to speak about alignment, that coherence between your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, to create a life that is true to your authentic self and the capacity in your system to actually hold it. Now, before we get started, just a quick note. This is episode 74. If you want to binge listen to more on this specific topic, check out the podcast catalog in the show notes. It's your roadmap to every conversation we've had so far. To the beautiful soul joining me for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome home. I hope you find exactly what you've been looking for here. My wish is that this episode serves your journey deeply. And if it does, please share it with your family, with your friends, with your loved ones, and stay here with me every week. I'm so happy to have you in the community. If you've been listening to the last few episodes, then you already know we've been moving through my Align framework through awareness, liberation, and integration. So you're not at the beginning of this anymore. And if you haven't listened to the past episode, last week episodes talks about liberation and integration, and many episodes before that talk about awareness. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to link those for you in the show notes so that you can refer to it and come back here if you want. You are also welcome to start here. What happens is that we have moved through awareness, liberation, and integration. You can see your patterns more clearly. You've started letting go of what's not aligned in your life, and you're even catching yourself in real time and choosing differently, responding differently. And for a moment, that feels really good because things start to shift. But then something else starts happening. And this is the part that can feel really confusing. As your life begins to reflect those changes and things start opening up and you get closer to everything you have been asking for, you don't always feel as grounded as you expected to. You might feel unsettled. You might feel a little anxious or like you cannot fully land in it, or like part of you is still on the edge, even though nothing is actually wrong. And this is where a lot of you start to think you're doing something wrong, or that you're not ready, or that you're about to lose what's starting to come together. But what's actually happening is that your system hasn't fully caught up yet, because awareness is where you start to notice the pattern. This is the first step that we go through. Liberation is where you begin letting go of it, right? You begin to work on yourself, work with the parts of yourself that you need to forgive yourself, forgive others, etc. And integration is where things start to make sense in a new way because you're integrating the reframe that you have worked through awareness and liberation, right? You're working with that new identity to be able to create the life you want. But if you actually want to live in alignment and create the life you've been asking for on a day-to-day basis, there comes a point where you have to grow, ground, and embody it. And that's really what we're getting into today. We're going to look at what growth and grounding actually mean for your nervous system and what it really takes to embody the version of you that you've been working towards, that essence that is you, that lives in you, right? Before all the conditioning and all these layers were put into place. Because your desire for more is not random, friend, and it's not out of reach. But if your system isn't resourced to hold that level of expansion yet, that's when growth starts to feel overwhelming, unstable, and like it doesn't last. I've gone through it in my life. I have manifested, created certain things in my life, but the foundation level was not built to truly hold. So some of the things that I manifested didn't last. I don't know if it happens to you, but I'm guessing that it does because we all go through this. This is a journey, friend. Let me show you what this actually looks like, because this isn't just something I see conceptually. It's something that I have witnessed over and over again in my clients and something I've moved through, like I say, in my own life as well. I had this beautiful client that struggled a little bit more than others with this. She created that awareness. She understood her patterns. She could name her triggers, and she knew exactly what was happening and why it was happening. And still, in the moments that actually matter, the moments that she was put in situations that were challenging for her, in moments that this growth came into her life, her body would go right back to what felt familiar, to what it knows, right? That automatic response. She would get close to something better, more stability, more clarity, healthier dynamics, and then feel that pull to go back into overthinking, into tension, into trying to manage everything around her. Not because she wanted chaos. I don't think any of us truly want chaos in our lives, but because her nervous system knew how to exist there in the familiar, in the automatic response. And anything outside of that felt not safe. It felt new in a way that her body didn't fully trust yet, because we have spoken about this in many episodes in this podcast about the brain and the nervous system and how it likes the familiarity. It's a prediction machine, people. It's a prediction machine. And I've seen this in my own life too, especially in my relationships. I noticed how aware I was of the emotional climate around me. I became an expert, whether it was in friendships, in my work, in my marriage, even with my children. And you can go to episode 71 and listen to my story because I speak about it. I speak about the entire process actually and how this even affected my health. I go into my endometrial cancer journey and how it kind of relates a little. And I'm going to leave the episode in the show notes for you so that you can go ahead and listen to that and then come back here. Anyway, I was constantly scanning, adjusting. I was constantly making sure everything felt okay. And in that process, what I was doing is that I was shrinking parts of myself without even realizing it. I would comply or settle or hold back what I really wanted to say because there was this underlying fear of losing love, of losing the connection. And even when I became aware of that pattern, even when I understood where it came from, that didn't mean it automatically changed. It didn't, because again, awareness is not the same thing as everything else that comes after. There were moments where I had to choose something different while my body was telling me to stay quiet, to stay small, and to go back to what felt familiar. Instead, I started choosing to stay with myself, speaking up more, advocating for what I needed, and allowing myself to take up space in a way that didn't always feel comfortable at first, and choosing myself over and over and over again. And this wasn't something that happened once and then everything shifted. It became a practice, something I had to choose again and again in different moments, in my marriage, with my kids, with my work, with people around me, everywhere as my life continued to expand. What I realized through that process, friend, is that it's not just about seeing the pattern or even changing it once. It's about expanding your capacity to actually hold that change in real time, in your relationships, in your decisions, in the way you move through life, because that's what allows you to create sovereignty and live in alignment, not just understand it or touch it for a moment, but actually stay there. And it's not perfection. And it's not, oh my God, this incredible, it doesn't live in a pedestal. It's every single day you're creating sovereignty and living in alignment by doing this practice. So this next phase in my Align framework, growth and grounding, and next level embodiment is where things either start to stabilize or they don't. And we are going to be speaking first about growth and grounding. And this is where things shift, because up until this point, a lot of the work has been internal, right? You've been working with yourself, with your parts, the parts of you that need healing, the inner child, the other parts, because you know that I integrate internal family systems. You've been noticing, releasing, reframing, but here your life starts to respond. And that's where your nervous system has to learn how to hold what's changing. This is the moment that you are expanding. Growth in this sense is about expanding what feels possible for you. It's not just about wanting more. It's about what your system is actually available for. And that gets shaped by what you expose yourself to, meaning the environment you're in, the conversations you normalize, the standards you start to hold, right? Because as I mentioned to you very early in this podcast, you have to start curating your life to the life you want to live. It's like a museum. You have to curate. So you have to be very intentional on the environments you're in, the conversations that you're having, the standards you're holding, the people you hang out with, the consumption that you make in social media or in TV, etc., etc. But as that expansion happens, grounding is what determines whether you can actually stay there. Because it's one thing to see a different possibility for your life, and it's another thing to remain steady when you're in it, especially when something doesn't go exactly the way you expected, or when you're presented with something that's close to what you want, but not fully aligned. For example, you're getting an opportunity that looks good on paper, but doesn't actually match what you said you wanted. And feeling that pull to take it anyway, just so that you can feel secure. Or noticing yourself in a dynamic where it would be easier to settle or stay quiet than to actually honor what you need. Those are the moments that show you where you're grounded in your truth or still operating from that automatic place you were before. Those are the tests that the universe sends us. Those are the triggers. So in this grounding and growth phase, we are being asked to stay with ourselves, because what feels familiar to your system is not random. This is what you have learned. This is what you have adapted to, what your body had to make sense of through your environment, through your relationships, right? And the experiences that shape you early on. This is the onion layers that we speak about. These are the layers that you see people speaking about out there in social media, all the conditioning that people speak about in human design. You have been conditioned all your life, right? When you were a baby, you were a clean slate. And then all of a sudden, through your parents, through your environment, your loved ones, school, friends, society, even ancestral inheritance, right? Narratives that come from generations. You have all these layers that you have to start taking off. So even if something is better for you now at this moment in time, and you know it's good for you, your nervous system doesn't automatically register that thing as safe. It registers what it knows. It goes back. Okay, what do we know? What do we know about this? Because your nervous system is wired for survival and not for expansion. When something new enters your life, whether it's more money, a healthier relationship, a better job, a bigger opportunity, it registers it as different, right? As new. And what does different and new means to our body? It means threat, danger, danger, which is why instead of settling into the very thing you wanted, you feel that urge to pull back. And I want to ask you right now, where are you doing this in your life right now? That you're asking for that change and for all of that beautiful, I don't know, new lifestyle and is right there for you and you're pulling back. From the outside, it can look like self-sabotage. This is what people call self-sabotage. But when we look at the science behind all of this, it's actually your nervous system trying to bring you back to what it knows, to what feels safe, because your brain is constantly scanning and labeling what's happening, what's predictable, what it can trust, what is familiar, etc. You know that the brain loves to put everything in a box, in a file folder, in a Rolodex, however you want to call it. So when something new shows up, even if it's a line, it hasn't been labeled as safe yet. Because in those moments, your brain isn't just reacting emotionally, it's following patterns that have been reinforced over time. And every time you choose something different and stay with it, you're not just making a better decision, you're starting to show your system a new way of responding. So in order for you to rewire and reprogram yourself, right, that chip, you have to stay with yourself every time and choose something different than what you are used to so that your nervous system knows it is safe. And this is where the next phase begins, and this is what I call next level embodiment. And I want to make a pause here because in order for us to feel that safety, you know that I have spoken about nervous system regulation. These are practices that we can do whenever we are expanding and we are feeling very, very like that anxiety and that unsafeness. We can practice those. And I believe it's episode 19, if I'm not mistaken, that has nervous system regulation practices you can do. So I just wanted to mention that here. Okay, let's talk about next level embodiment, not as something separate, but as what naturally happens when you start bringing alignment into your everyday life in a consistent way. It's in the small decisions, the way you respond, the way you stay with yourself instead of abandoning what you know is true for you. And over time, that repetition is what starts to shift your nervous system. Not because you force it, but because you've shown yourself again and again that it's safe to live this way and to stay there. And also, this is a good opportunity for me to let you know that while you are doing this work and you are grounding yourself for the growth and expansion that you are living, besides nervous system regulations, obviously, I go deeper into internal family systems when you work with me in my coaching container. I go into internal family systems because we have to let the parts of ourselves that are trying to protect us, that it is safe to expand, that it is safe to grow, that you are not 3 anymore, 5 anymore, 7, 10, 15, 20, I don't know, whenever you had that bad experience, let's just put it that way. So I wanted to drop this in because this is the work I do with my coaching clients. So make sure that if you're interested in working with me in my one-on-one container, you can just go ahead and, you can contact me. All the links are going to be in the show notes. Alignment is often talked about as this big, dramatic destination we're trying to reach. But the truth is, it's found in the quiet, specific moments you've been overlooking. It's about building the internal safety to stay in your center, even when the world around you is loud. Tomorrow, April 22nd at noon Eastern Standard Time, I'm hosting the live Step into Alignment workshop. This is a 90-minute immersion. It's going to be live, where we move past the theory of neuroscience and spirituality and get tactical, and where I'm taking you through my Align framework. If you're recognizing yourself in this, then this is your next step. If you're ready to build a foundation you can actually trust in real life, I'd love to have you in the room. Space is limited because I want to keep this a true community container. You can grab your spot at the link in the show notes or head over to my Instagram at Michelle Marie Pacheco and DM me the word align. Tomorrow, April 22nd at noon Eastern Standard Time. I would love to see you there. Beautiful soul, as you're listening to this, I want you to just notice where you are in this process. I have mentioned and worked through the Align framework here. Notice in what step are you? Are you in awareness, in liberation? Are you integrating everything? Are you grounding and growing? Or are you living your next level embodiment? Notice what's already shifting in your life, what is starting to open, and also where you feel that subtle pull to go back to what feels automatic, even when you know there is something more available to you. Because that moment right there, where things are expanding, but you don't fully feel grounded in it yet, is the moment that determines everything. Is the moment that either you move forward or you go back to who you were. And if this conversation felt a little too accurate, if you can see yourself in this, then this is your next step. Join me tomorrow in Step into Alignment. This is going to be the live workshop where we're going deeper, not just understanding what's happening, but actually working with your nervous system in real time. So you start building that capacity that you need so that you can hold everything that is coming to you in life without pulling yourself out of it. It is a space where you don't have to figure this on your own. We can do it together. Before I go, remember the fact that you're even in this space, right? In grounding, in growing, in next level embodiment, where things are starting to shift, where you're becoming more aware, where your life is beginning to open up in new ways. First of all, this is a great space to be in. Don't confuse the quiet with something is going to fall out of place. Nope. That's not random, friend. You're here because you're doing all the work. It means something in you is already ready for more. But readiness isn't just about wanting or seeing it. It's about being able to stay with yourself as it unfolds. And I am being redundant and repetitive in telling you this because I want you to remember this. You have to stay with yourself. That's where alignment becomes real. It's not when everything feels easy, but when you can stay anchored in who you are, even as your life begins to move beyond what once felt familiar. And that's where sovereignty is built. Not in the big moments, but in those quiet moments where you choose yourself. Honor what you know is true for you, even when part of you wants to go back to what it knows. Because every time you stay with yourself in those moments, you're teaching your system that it is safe to live in that version of your life. I'm sending you so much love. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And I see you tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time inside the workshop. If this landed, then you're already starting to see what's been running beneath the surface. And if you're ready to actually shift it, not just understand it, this is the work we do inside coaching. DM me on Instagram at Michelle Marie Pacheco, and we'll talk about what that could look like for you. I'll see you in the next episode.